Right now, your cells are making mistakes, not occasionally, constantly. Every division, every copy, billions of errors a day. Your immune system cleans it all up before you feel a thing. You have no idea. You're just watching a video. Here's the strange part. This has nothing to do with modern life. Every human who ever existed ran the same system. The Egyptian harvesting grain, the hunter on the savannah 50,000 years ago, the hominin crouching outside a cave in South Africa a million years before anyone invented the word doctor, running the exact same broken, self-repairing machinery you're running right now. So, did ancient humans get cancer? And if they did, what caused it? No cigarettes, no processed food, none of the things we spend so much energy blaming. Where did it come from? Okay, so here's the story most people carry around. Cancer is a modern disease. It's the price of the way we live now. Industrial chemicals, bad food, sitting all day, chronic stress, too much of everything that tastes good. Ancient people didn't have all that. They lived clean, they moved, they ate wild food, and as a result, cancer was rare, maybe almost non-existent, because their bodies hadn't been wrecked yet by civilization. This story feels right. It's tidy. It has a villain. It's also built on a mistake so basic that once you see it, you can't unsee it. We've been looking for evidence in the wrong place. Think about what archaeologists actually recover from ancient humans. Bones. Almost always, just bones. Skin is gone. Organs dissolved. Soft tissue disappears within years, sometimes months. Now think about where cancer most commonly strikes. Lungs, colon, breast, pancreas, skin. All soft tissue. All completely invisible in the fossil record. Asking, did ancient people get cancer? And then looking at their skeletons is like asking, did ancient people get headaches? And then digging through the dirt looking for aspirin bottles. Finding nothing doesn't mean nothing was there. But, and this is the part I find genuinely fascinating, even with only bones to work with, there was something hiding inside them. We just hadn't looked carefully enough. There's a bone that spent 1.7 million years in a cave in South Africa, and it's going to wreck the cancer is modern story entirely. We'll get there. But first, one more piece of the myth to take apart. Cancer rates are rising. That's real. Global numbers have been climbing for over a century. Doesn't that prove it's a modern problem? No. And here's the thing. The reason why is almost embarrassingly obvious once someone points it out. You're mixing up two completely different things. How often we detect cancer and how often cancer actually exists. 100 years ago, someone died of lung cancer. Their family said it was a bad cough. No diagnosis, no record, nothing. Someone else died of colon cancer, stomach trouble. Someone died of leukemia, fever, and weakness. The cancer was there. We just didn't have the tools to name it. CT scanners, tumor biopsies, molecular pathology, none of this existed before the 20th century. We didn't find more cancer because more cancer appeared. We found more cancer because we finally learned how to look. And then there's the age thing, which sounds like it supports the ancient people were fine argument, but actually doesn't once you look at it properly. Cancer clusters in people over 50. Ancient people's average lifespan was 30, so they died before cancer could develop, right? The trap here is that average lifespan of 30 number. It's dragged down almost entirely by child mortality, enormous numbers of kids dying before age 5 from infection and starvation. That collapses the average. But the people who survived childhood, many of them lived to 60, 70, or beyond. In a limestone cave in France, archaeologists found a Neanderthal skeleton they ended up nicknaming the Old Man. Unofficially, Neanderthals did not have a formal elder recognition ceremony as far as we know. His teeth had fallen out decades before he died. Bone had regrown over the empty sockets. Someone had been grinding his food for him for years. He survived long enough to become completely toothless and dependent on his community, which, honestly, is more than some of us manage today. Ancient people had plenty of time to get cancer. The question was just, can we find the proof? Okay, the bone. Swartkrans Cave, just outside Johannesburg, South Africa. Paleoanthropologists call the whole region the cradle of humankind, the single densest concentration of hominin fossils anywhere on Earth. In 1998, excavators pulled out a small foot bone, specimen SK7923, flagged as unusual morphology, placed in a storage room, and essentially forgotten for nearly 20 years. This is extremely normal in archaeology, by the way. Museum storage is full of specimens nobody's looked at carefully since the day they were dug up. The history of science is basically just excavate something, forget about it for 2 decades, rediscover it with a better machine, have a moment. In 2016, a team from the University of the Witwatersrand decided to run old specimens through a micro-CT scanner, same basic technology as a hospital CT, except the resolution is so precise it can map density differences inside bone layer by layer, generate full three-dimensional models, let researchers digitally slice through the fossil like they're scrubbing through footage. They put SK7923 in. The images came back. One of the researchers said one word: bingo. Not damage, not a healed fracture, not normal fossil wear, osteosarcoma, an aggressive malignant bone cancer. The kind that today strikes mostly children and young adults, the kind that, without treatment, spreads and kills. The bone's outer surface had a texture the researchers described as cauliflower-like, the specific fingerprint left when cancer cells invade bone tissue, break through the cortex, and start expanding outward. The team put their images side by side with modern osteosarcoma biopsies from living patients. Nearly identical. We still don't know exactly which species this bone belonged to. 2 different hominin species lived in that cave, and the bone is too small to assign definitively. What we know is that it was bipedal. It was one of ours, and it was walking around 1.7 million years ago with a malignant tumor eating through its foot. It didn't have a word for what was happening, but it felt every step. Sit with that for a second. 1.7 million years ago. No diagnosis, no surgery, no painkillers, no name for the thing growing inside the bone. Just a hominin, hunting, surviving, dealing with a world that was already full of things trying to kill it, with one more thing it couldn't see, couldn't fight, couldn't understand, just pain. And walking anyway. Did the cancer kill it? Honestly, we don't know. The fossil doesn't tell us that part. But it had cancer. That part we know for certain. Same team, same year, nearby site called Malapa. A skeleton of Australopithecus sediba, a juvenile, somewhere around 12 or 13 developmentally. His spine had a tumor, benign, not malignant, but there, real, documented, 1.98 million years ago. Before these 2 finds, the oldest known tumor in any human relative was a 120,000-year-old Neanderthal rib from Croatia. That record didn't get nudged back. It got absolutely demolished, pushed back nearly 2 million years in an afternoon of CT scanning a box of forgotten fossils. And here's where it gets even bigger, because this was never just a human story. Dinosaurs got cancer. In 2020, a team of pathologists, surgeons, and paleontologists published findings in The Lancet Oncology, one of the most prestigious cancer journals in the world, about a leg bone from a horned dinosaur called Centrosaurus, found in Alberta in 1989. The bone had been sitting in a museum for 30 years, labeled as a probable healed fracture. They scanned it. They took cross-sections. Osteosarcoma. Same cancer as SK7923. Same cancer in pediatric wards today, 75 million years ago. It wasn't alone. Researchers have found tumor evidence in multiple dinosaur species, fossilized fish specimens roughly 300 million years old, with what appears to be bone cancer. A stem turtle fossil from the Triassic, over 200 million years ago, with osteosarcoma. If Cancer wrote a 1-star review of modern civilization, it would say, "I was here before the dinosaurs. You didn't create me. I find your self-importance genuinely adorable. This isn't bad luck. This isn't coincidence across every species and every era. This is just what happens when life exists." Here's the thing that reframes all of this. Cancer isn't really a malfunction. Not the way we usually think about malfunctions. What is life at its most fundamental? Cell division. 1 cell becomes 2, 2 become 4. Every multicellular organism that's ever existed runs on this engine. Without it, nothing grows, nothing heals, you don't exist. But the engine produces errors, every single time. Your DNA is 3 billion base pairs, copied completely every time a cell divides, and every time some letters get wrong. Your body has molecular proofreaders whose entire job is catching those mistakes and destroying cells too damaged to function. Most of the time they win, sometimes they don't. A cell starts dividing without stopping. It forgets what enough means. It stops cooperating with the body around it and starts just existing for itself. Dividing, surviving, spreading. And here's the part that genuinely makes me stop every time. A cancer cell isn't malfunctioning in some exotic new way. It's reverting. It's behaving exactly like a single-celled organism. The way life behaved before cells learned to cooperate, before your body became a coordinated thing, instead of just a pile of cells doing whatever they wanted. Your cancer cells are, in a strange sense, remembering something your body has spent billions of years trying to make them forget. Researchers at Keele University found tumors in Hydra, a tiny aquatic polyp, one of the most ancient animal lineages on Earth. Their conclusion, published in Nature Communications, was pretty blunt. Cancer is as old as multicellular life itself and will probably never be completely eradicated. That's not pessimism, it's just math. Every multicellular organism pays a tax for existing. The currency is cell division. Division always carries the risk of error. Errors sometimes escape. Ancient humans paid this tax. Dinosaurs paid it. A Triassic turtle paid it 200 million years ago. You are paying it right now quietly, while your immune system handles the paperwork without telling you. No era, no civilization, no level of purity or simplicity or clean living. Nobody gets exempt. Now. You might still be thinking, okay, fine, cancer existed back then. But wasn't it at least rarer? Isn't modern life genuinely making it worse? Probably yes, in some real ways, but here's where it gets interesting. Ancient people had their own carcinogens, just different ones. They had fire. Human use of fire goes back at least 1 million years. Every day, in enclosed caves and shelters, burning wood, producing polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, benzopyrene, formaldehyde, carbon monoxide. Every one of those is a confirmed carcinogen. Populations that still cook over open wood fires today show elevated rates of specific cancers. Ancient humans were breathing this, indoors, every single day, and they called it warmth. They had mold, stored nuts, grains, dried fruit. Warm, humid conditions, zero refrigeration, zero quality control. Aflatoxins, produced naturally by Aspergillus mold, are among the most potent carcinogens in the natural world, directly linked to liver cancer. Ancient people had no way to test for them. Moldy food was just food. You ate it or you didn't eat. They had parasites, Schistosoma hematobium, a water-dwelling parasite still endemic across parts of Africa and the Middle East, is classified as a confirmed direct cause of bladder cancer. No debate, no probably associated with. Direct cause. Archaeological evidence places schistosomiasis in ancient Egypt going back at least to 1500 BC. Every time an ancient person waded through a river in certain regions, they were walking into a confirmed carcinogen and had absolutely no way of knowing. They had unlimited ultraviolet radiation, every day, whole body, no sunscreen. Skin cancer leaves no fossil record, but it was there. Of course it was there. Ancient life wasn't clean. It was just differently contaminated. Here's the part I think matters most, the part that's actually about us. The idea that cancer is a modern disease carries a hidden moral argument inside it. If cancer is punishment for how we live, for bad choices, failed discipline, the corruption of modern civilization, then somewhere underneath our sympathy for cancer patients, there's a quiet, unspoken thought that nobody says out loud. Did they bring this on themselves? We never voice it. But the logic of cancer is a modern disease points straight there. And it's wrong, not just medically wrong. It's a kind of cruelty. Yes, smoking causes cancer. Yes, obesity is linked to multiple cancers. Yes, certain lifestyle factors genuinely raise risk. That's real and worth knowing. But risk factor and cause are not the same sentence. Collapsing them is how we end up quietly blaming people for losing a biological lottery they never chose to enter. 1.7 million years ago, in a South African cave, a hominin that had never seen processed food, never breathed industrial air, never touched a cigarette, had osteosarcoma growing in its foot. It did nothing wrong. It simply had cells. It simply divided. It simply lived. Cancer is not punishment for how you live. Cancer is the cost of being alive at all. Every multicellular organism pays this. Most days, the immune system handles it and you never know. Some days, it doesn't. That is not a verdict on your character. That is not a reflection of your choices or your worth. That is biology. Older than dinosaurs. As old as the first animal that ever tried to be more than one cell. Right now, while you watch this, your retinal cells are firing. Your DNA is being copied. Errors are being made and caught and corrected in the dark behind your eyes in real time, without your knowledge or permission. 1.7 million years ago, in a cave outside Johannesburg, a hominin whose name we will never know was doing the same thing. Cells dividing, DNA copying, and in one cell, in one small bone in its foot, the repair crew missed. Between that moment and this one, there is no gap. Every human who ever lived, every single ancestor in your unbroken line, through ice ages, migrations, extinctions, and thousands of generations of people who somehow survived long enough to have children, all of them ran this same machinery. All of them fought this same daily war. All of them paid this same tax, every day, just for being alive. The difference between them and you is not that you live in a more dangerous world. The difference is that you have a name for what you're fighting. You have scans that find tumors smaller than a grain of rice. You have drugs designed for specific mutations in specific cancer types. You have surgeons and oncologists and researchers who've dedicated entire careers to mapping the oldest enemy multicellular life has ever faced. Ancient humans felt it, couldn't name it, wrote next to it on papyrus 3,500 years ago, 5 words: there is no treatment. You are not a victim of modern life. You are the latest in an unbroken line of organisms that have faced this thing. And you are fighting it with better tools, more knowledge, and more hope than anyone who ever came before you. Keep going.